Assassin's Creed 1 is a game. Grey, repetitive, buggy, and yet I still enjoy myself, but the question is, should you buy Assassin's Creed 1 in 2022? We're heading back to the traditional structure of these videos. We'll be talking narrative and gameplay with no spoilers, so if you want spoilers, let me know and I could do a spoiler review because there isn't much to spoil, to be honest, so it'd be a quick video. Well, hey. Assassin's Creed 1 has a very odd story. It's all set around a MacGuffin, which is something called the Piece of Eden, and you have to go around assassinating targets that want that Piece of Eden to restore your rank since you screw up at the start of the game, and that leads to a very one-note story. I'm not kidding, every time you assassinate someone, they get a little monologue, they explain their viewpoints, why they think they're doing it right, and you just say, no, that's not right, get wrecked, mate, haha, GG, stab, 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 stab. That's basically what the story is. So basically, so I don't waste any of your time, the story here is basically just here for an incentive to kill people. That's about it until you get to the final mission. You go on these missions and your character Altair starts questioning why these people are doing what they are doing and why they want that Piece of Eden, how powerful that Piece of Eden actually is. That is about it. Assassin's Creed 1 gives you that little tease of what's to come, but does nothing more with it, and for the first game in the franchise, the story is very underwhelming. With the first game, you really want to nail that narrative to get people invested and question what is possibly going to happen in the sequel, but most people seem to have started off with Assassin's Creed 2 due to the amount of praise it got back in 2009, which is good for them, I guess, because there really isn't much of a reason to play AC1 for its story. It gives you a little more information on what the sequels are about and gives you a better payoff in Assassin's Creed Revelations, but all in all, as its own game, it's very lackluster. The voice acting leaves a lot to be desired, especially from your main character. All the lines are delivered in the same way and in pretty poor accents, and it can get really boring to listen to. Although the voice actor for Leonardo in Assassin's Creed 2 is actually in Assassin's Creed 1, and I got a really good laugh about it because I was just basically taking the piss out of Leonardo saying he's a time traveller. In my own head, I'm a bit weird like that. I found the humour in that, but I don't know about you guys, I don't know if you will. But yeah, you go around assassinating these targets that aren't particularly memorable. I just completed the game about an hour ago, and I cannot tell you like 90% of the targets because you don't really get to know them at all. You just go in, kill them, and they give you a long speech about why they are right, etc, etc. You know, the cult kind of stuff. You know, we say, you're wrong, I'm right, you're an idiot, no you, Uno card reverse, the typical stuff. However, the final hour, it gets really interesting, mainly because you get to see what it's all been building up to, basically. And while the build-up could have been a lot better, the ending really gets you wondering where the franchise is going, or in my case, where it really could have gone after the Ezio trilogy, because there's so much that could be made out of that ending, because there's so many different areas on that Piece of Eden, without spoiling anything. And they could have done things very differently, but they went down the path they did with the franchise. It is what it is. All in all, the story is not very good. It explores themes like revenge, vengeance, what is freedom exactly, is it just an illusion that we as people came up so our minds can handle working for the rest of our lives, stuff like that. The main problem is that there's just no nuance to it. When these characters have these conversations, it's very well... Let me give you an example. Altair, this man takes prisoners, go kill him. Altair goes and kills him, and during his final speech he's like, "Assassin, these were poor homeless people. I gave them hope and guidance in exchange for their freedom to die as a homeless person." That's it. So he took prisoners because he didn't want them to die as a homeless person. That's genuinely one of the target's motivations. At least that's what I got from it. Maybe I'm just an idiot, but there really isn't much nuance to it at all, to be honest. Sure, it may not be written specifically like that, but it's very similar. But listen, if you're considering buying AC1, even though the story doesn't sound like your kind of thing, we should probably get to the gameplay. Assassin's Creed 1 is the foundation for everything that has been built over the last 14 years. The foundation is great in small doses, but thankfully the sequels built upon said foundation and added variety to the game's content. Unfortunately, Assassin's Creed 1 is just the foundation, so you're in for a fun 6 hours or something like that, but once you hit the 7th, 8th, you kind of just want to get through it. You travel to multiple cities like Jerusalem, Damascus, etc., and you climb viewpoints to find investigations like pickpocketing or eavesdropping, and luckily there are no tailing missions, imagine that. After you do those investigations, you do a main mission and then you go back home and repeat. The best way to look at Assassin's Creed 1 is as a Hitman game, just without the creative parts. You get the illusion of playing Assassin's Creed 1 the way you want to, but the main missions are very, very structured and cinematic to really give you that epic-like feeling they wanted to get across.
Step into the light, then, and I will grant you one final favor.
But it really just limits your creativity and interactivity with a game about assassinating people. That's the whole point, and you really are limited in your ability to do so. For example, I can't show you the cutscene, but a main target was right in front of me and about to kill someone, and I wanted to save that person, but for the sake of cinematic effect, I wasn't able to. And despite being right next to him, I have to watch him ride off on a boat laughing, and there was nothing I could do about it. It's just those little things that irritate me, because I want to get the guy, I want to kill him right there, I don't want to waste my time, I want to just stab him, Altair, just stab him. That being said, the actual cities aren't that bad for 2007 or 2008. There's always people around the corner to avoid, plenty of buildings to climb, and you know, it can feel really great to traverse it all, but that repetitive nature bites Assassin's Creed 1 on the ass, like really hard, like a dog mauling on your rat. I'm sorry, that was too much detail. This was easily the biggest criticism even back in 2008, so that hasn't changed. The combat system I really like though, there's a bit more to it when compared to the sequels. You have light attacks, heavy attacks, throws, dodges, staggers, and a few others like throwing knives, and while the customization is nowhere near AC2 or any of the sequels for that matter, the combat system for me really worked for the amount of time I spent playing Assassin's Creed 1. The combat felt smooth, the enemies actually adapted to some of my attacks, and well, it was fun. More fun than Valhalla, that's for sure. That being said, I mentioned customization because there is none here. You don't choose your weapons, outfits, nothing. This was clearly not a priority for Ubisoft, so if you want customization, avoid Assassin's Creed 1 at all costs because there is none. Nada, nothing. You will not be getting that in Assassin's Creed 1. Once again, it goes back to that foundation point. Assassin's Creed 1 has a really great combat system, but Assassin's Creed 2 streamlined it for the various weapons you could use, but I wish instead of going for that free flow system in Brotherhood, they just expanded on what Assassin's Creed 1 did with a variety of weapons. That would have been great, I think, but they chose to go down the Batman Arkham route because, well, Batman Arkham is great. Yeah, that's that. Main missions, as I mentioned, are cinematic, but nothing amazing. When it comes to level design, you know, it's set in like these little box areas. You can climb, you can go up, you can run directly to them, you can sneak up on them. You get that amount of choice most of the time, but it still feels very structured and very limited. That's about it. Assassin's Creed 1 is just not a very deep game when it comes to gameplay. You get what's on the box or art. You assassinate people for 67 hours. So, should you buy Assassin's Creed 1? Well, if you've never played it and enjoy the Assassin's Creed formula, I see no harm in giving it a shot. It costs like £5 now most of the time, but if you get bored of the newer Assassin's Creeds really quickly, you will get bored of Assassin's Creed 1 in probably an hour or two, and that's not a good thing. I personally bought it and I personally enjoyed it, so that's just me, but you'll need to make your decision based on what I've said and other reviews. I hope I helped you out, and I hope you stick around. Thank you guys. See you in the next review.